Thanks for listening to Curious Cat, the podcast that examines the shadowy space where science and the supernatural collide. I'm your host, Jennifer Holtz. Join me every week as I explore what it means to be a soul in a meat suit. Welcome to Curious Cat. We are in the dog days of summer. It's a season of campouts when a tent pitched in a backyard offers cool relief from sunny days. Those magical nights are a bridge to the celestial realm. From stories written in the stars to the placement of the sun, the moon, and planets at the moment of our birth, to the impact moon phases and sunspots have on our human bodies, the bridge to the celestial realm awaits. Let's step onto it. When I think of the bridge to the celestial, I picture that crystal rainbow bridge from the Thor movie that stretched from Asgard to other realms. The stars and our place among them has birthed questions we humans have pondered since ancient times. Tales have been woven from that vast blanket of light that speak of heroes, villains, cautionary tales, mythical beasts, revenge, and more. The placement of the moon, the sun, and constellations signaled the time to plant crops, to hunt, to store food for winter, and to hunker down. The sight of comets and meteor showers were often seen as omens, signs from the gods that seeded legends we repeat to this day. In fact, we still look to the stars, the sun, and phases of the moon to better feel our own connection to the universe. These celestial bodies, they inspire the mystery of us in a way that feels secret, sacred, and sometimes haunting. In fact, the cosmos have inspired their own genre known as cosmic horror. Heavily influenced by H.P. Lovecraft, cosmic horror focuses on the insignificance of humans, the unsettling nature of the universe, and cosmic entities that can be threatening or seem intimidating at the very least. These stories often center around a few subjects. Number 1, forbidden knowledge, which entails exploring ancient secrets and dangerous knowledge that can drive characters to madness. Number 2, imminent awakening of terrible beings. Like ancient powerful entities that threaten to destroy Earth or reality itself. And number 3, places, dimensions, worlds that leave our own beloved Mother Earth in the dust. Characters often encounter horrors beyond our normal senses and often find themselves alone to face unimaginable threats. Stories about haunted spaceships, they go hand in hand with cosmic horror. I can think of a handful of novels written in this vein. They center around creepy, mysterious events on abandoned ships. Here are a few. Ship of Fools, or Behold the Leviathan. In it, a starship encounters a colony world whose inhabitants have been killed off, and the crew hunts down the mysterious alien. Dead Silence. A salvage crew boards a lost luxury space liner and encounters disturbing whispers, strange movements, and possible ghost sightings. Salvaged. This story is about a space janitor who boards a research vessel only to find a crew infected by a strange parasitic alien. Then there's Actual, accounts of space that open up a huge can of worms. Some people, including former astronauts, report having extraterrestrial encounters. Others have recounted experiences of seeing strange objects or lights in space that they believe could be extraterrestrial or from a parallel dimension. How about mysterious sounds in space? Despite space being a vacuum, some astronauts have reported hearing unusual sounds during missions, adding a layer of eerie mystery to their experiences. There's something familiar about the stars, isn't there? You may remember being a child, sitting beneath the dark sky and listening as an adult told the story to you of Orion the Hunter, or shared the tale of Andromeda, the ill-fated princess. Maybe an older brother pointed out the Big Dipper to you, the North Star, or Mars. Watching the stars and planets puts our own lives into perspective, shrinks our problems down to a manageable size, at least for a few moments. We are made of stardust. The stories impressed into the open skies hold aspects of us in their chapters, and at the same time, we carry bits of deep space in our very DNA. For all those reasons and more, that's why our birth charts are not only relevant, but might be custom written owner's manuals. So what is a birth chart? I found a super approachable explanation from Elle magazine, of all places. In it, Madison Feller writes, if you've ever wanted to explore the world of astrology, you can think of a birth chart as your requisite map. While it's most well known for revealing one's big three, the sun, moon, and rising signs, a full birth chart holds so many more insights as long as you're able to read one or have someone do it for you. She says having your chart read can be informative, but be picky about who you hire. They naturally come with biases, but you need to understand those. She encourages all of us to learn how to read a birth chart for ourselves and lays out a path to do that. Writing a birth chart, also known as your natal chart, is a snapshot of where all the planets were in their orbit the moment you were born, Edut says. The birth chart tells a story, your life story of what your soul came here to do, to learn and become. While accurate, scientific diagrams of the sky are heliocentric, meaning the sun is at the center of the universe, Edut explains. She goes on to say that on a birth chart, the Earth is at the center. It's like our view of the sky from Earth, as if all the planets are orbiting us. Now, this is where things can get a little bit complicated. There are three main parts to interpreting a birth chart: the planets, the signs, and the houses. A birth chart will show the snapshot of where each planet is in the sky. But then within this snapshot, the sky will be divided up into 12 equal slices for the 12 zodiac signs. So every planet will fall within a certain zodiac sign. For example, if the planet Venus falls within the Sagittarius slice, you would say you have a Sagittarius Venus. The sky will then also be divided up into 12 houses, with each planet falling within a specific house. Are you still with me? So while everyone will have the same planets in their charts, Edut explains they typically won't be in the same zodiac signs or houses, giving everyone their own unique chart. In the image that they present in this article, which I have links to in the show notes, you'll see that the innermost circle shows the 12 houses, the outermost circle shows the 12 zodiac signs, and symbols representing the planets fall within the slices. So how do these three elements work together? Well, the Astro Twins have a signature way of breaking it down, and it makes so much sense to me. I feel like for the first time in my life. First, there are the planets, which are like the actors in the movie of your life. Then there are the zodiac signs, which are like the costumes each planet wears. For example, the planet Venus will always be about romance and love, right? But how you love will be determined by what sign Venus is in. Lastly, there are the houses, which is where the action takes place. So if you had Venus in the first house, Edu explains you're someone who maybe feels the most romantic when you're doing something adventurous and daring and cultivating yourself. There's also a fourth piece to this puzzle, which are the aspects or the angles formed in the chart. And per Edu, there are 7 major angles, the distance between two planets in a chart. If they form one of those 7 key angles, then there's the kind of like they've stepped into a chat room together, like we're going to be communicating in a certain way. Some of the angles are called soft angles, which is an easy flowing communication, and others are called a hard aspect, which are challenging. To carry on the movie metaphor, Edu says you can think about aspects as the dialogue or the script between the characters. That makes so much sense to me. I hope it does to you as well. If you need to, refresh yourself on all the zodiac signs, which ones are fire, water, earth, and air elements, and their individual qualities. Then you can move on to the planets to learn which roles they each play in your life. She goes on to explain, the sun is your personality and how you shine. The moon represents your emotions and what you need to feel safe and secure, as well as how you nurture yourself. Mercury is how you communicate. Venus is all about romance, seduction, and your aesthetic tastes. Mars is your motivation and drive, including your sex drive. Jupiter is the area where you'll grow and expand and be lucky. Saturn is where there will be challenges and hurdles in your life. Uranus is where you're bound to break the rules and be innovative. Neptune is all about your dreams, your subconscious, your fantasy, and your illusions, including where you might need extra boundaries. Pluto is your unconscious, your secrets, as well as the key to your evolution. Next, you get into the 12 houses. If you were to go through the zodiac signs in order, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces, Edu explains that you'd see how each house corresponds in a lot of ways to its numerically matched sign. For example, the 10th house, which is all about career and public prestige, matches up with Capricorn, the sign that's known to be ambitious and high achieving, and Edu helps us break down each house. The first house is where you express yourself. You take your initiative and how you represent yourself to the world. The second house represents your values. The third house is your communication style specific to you. The fourth house is your roots and your emotional security. The fifth house is your creativity, your fame, and where you'll find that flirtatious teen romance. The sixth house is all about wellness, work, and daily routines and administration. The seventh house is about collaborations and equal partnerships, including marriage and commitment. The eighth house is wealth, debt, investments, sex, and reproduction. The ninth house is travel, knowledge, and expansion. The 10th house is your career and public prestige. The 11th house is all about technology, innovation, the future, and community. And the 12th house is about transitions, release, and spirituality. Okay, it's time to pull it all together. Adu explains there are two ways to read a chart: to get someone's personality and to do predictive astrology, where you take into account where the planets are now in relation to where they were when someone was born. As an example of the former, Adu took a look at the author's moon, which is a Pisces moon in the sixth house. She said, "Your moon is in Pisces, so you are romantic, but the house gives it another dimension," she said. "You still need structure, probably, in order to let that part of yourself out. You may feel more comfortable being romantic when there's a sense of certainty and a regular day-to-day structure." And she makes a note that that is so spot on. When Adu is tackling a birth chart, she says she first looks at someone's big three: their sun, their moon, and their rising signs, to get to the vibe of who they are. Then she'll look at Mercury for how they're going to communicate, as well as Mars and Venus. Those are the most immediate things that tend to show up for people, she says. But I'll also look at which planets are in aspect to each other. Remember how they communicate with one another. Is there a hard aspect going on that's going to be challenging for them in their lifetime, or is there going to be ease? I look to see how the planets are talking to each other. For predictive astrology, she'll also take a look at where the planets are right now. Like, where is Saturn right now, she says. Saturn's in Pisces at the time of this writing. Is this person born with Saturn in Pisces? Then they're going through their Saturn return. Or is Saturn in Pisces in an aspect to a planet in their charts? Is it squaring their sun? Well, they may be having a bit of an identity crisis right now, where they'll feel like they have to prove themselves. All in all, it's one giant puzzle. That puzzle is putting pieces into place to understand yourself better, Adu says. It's really an interpretive dance. Allow yourself to suspend the idea that there's one right answer and just think of it as a sort of self-inquiry. What fits me, or how do I see this showing up for me? There are specific guidelines too, but that's more of a tool than a hard and fast rule. If you want to go deeper, you can reference the Astro Twins guide on reading charts and their key phrases for interpreting a chart's three-part puzzle by clicking on links to their article in the show notes. I thought all that conversation was informative, and don't forget, there are links to the entire article in the show notes, and you can go as deep down that rabbit hole of you as you would like to and as you find instructive. Let's turn a little bit to past lives, which I've done a bit of exploring in a past life hypnosis session with my trusted friend Monique Pliakis. I know another trusted resource for this type of work is Mystical Ware's Derek Condit, but you can do some digging on your own if you know how to read nuances in your birth chart. Astrologia.com posted an excellent article about this, and in it, Daria Rowe explained, "Do my husband and I share a past life connection?" asked my client. They didn't, even though there were many other strong connections between their two natal charts. It's not always about past lives either, I said. Some people whose path crosses with ours are meant to prepare us for our next incarnation. She was intrigued and wanted to know how she would recognize such a person. I gave her some of the pointers I cover in this post, and she recognized her Sagittarius mom. "So much makes sense now," she says. "I've often felt that mom was this mysterious, insightful spirit who is so different from me that it's difficult for us to understand one another. And yet her insights help me see things from a totally different perspective. And that is exactly the experience you'll have with the person who is helping your soul grow and develop in preparation for your next incarnation. reincarnation. Your natal chart provides a lot of clues about your soul's journey, including gifts and lessons you've brought with you from your past life. Here are a few of the key ones. A strong 12th house. A strong 12th house with several planets often indicates an old soul with some unfinished business. With easy flowing planetary aspects, you may have come back so you can put to good use the significant gifts you accumulated over your past lives. I often see a strong 12th house in the charts of mediums and healers, including healthcare workers and psychologists. With difficult aspects, there may be some karmic debt to resolve. A strong 12th house can also indicate mental health issues at some point in our lives. There can be a period of depression or anxiety when the planets in your 12th house are triggered. The sun or moon in the 8th house can also indicate an old soul, as can a Scorpio or a Pisces ascendant. Okay, the house or area of life your sun is in will show you what will draw your energy in this lifetime. I often hear a sigh of relief when I tell a woman that her sun is in the 10th house. She will feel that career is calling her. Okay, and I feel so guilty I'm devoting so much time to my career, some clients will say, and not focusing as much on my family. I would hear many people say that. We all have a calling, and we're the happiest when we answer it, or at least recognize it. Then there's Saturn. Saturn's aspects in the house it's in will highlight a lesson from your past life that you didn't quite master that time around. And so it's back to resurfacing for you again for another chance to learn it. Let's say Saturn is square Venus in your natal chart. You might have felt not worthy of love in your past life, and perhaps you ended up with bad experiences in the love department. And here comes the chicken and egg dilemma. Could the self-doubts you struggle with now be shadows of the miserable marriage to a cold and harsh partner that you suffered through in one of your past lives? Or did you struggle with the same self-doubts then, and they brought on a marriage of convenience because you didn't think you were deserving of a great love? Regardless, you now have another chance to heal. The same theme may come into your awareness in this lifetime, but you don't have to play out the same pattern. That's what Saturn is here for, chiseling us into our best, accomplished, self-reliant, confident self. Then there are the nodes. Your South node will show the gifts you brought with you from your past life. You may take those for granted, in fact, and where you can express them most easily. This area of your life will seem natural and effortless to you. Hers is in the 10th house, and it's true that her career came easily and natural in so many ways. And your North node will show you the direction your soul needs to travel in to prepare for your next reincarnation. This area can feel alien in so many ways because it's something you're yet to explore on your soul's journey. It's the area to grow into. Sometimes your soul starts exploring these new directions early. You might have a strong spiritual calling in your next lifetime, I said to my client, and you could rely on others to support you financially, the living in an ashram, for example. She laughed at that. Turned out she spent 2 decades of her life in a convent. This lifetime, eventually she left, but she felt like a part of her journey was unfinished. Then there's past lives and soulmates. I often get a question about soulmate relationships and past lifetime connections. If your partner's South node, past life, is close to your sun or moon, you may in fact be wrapping up some unfinished business. I had a first-hand experience with this, she writes. I know we met before, he said. I was a stable boy and you were a highborn. You weren't paying any attention to me. This time around, I'm going to win you over. Okay, my Leo son might have liked that glamorized image, but my rational mind considered an alternative scenario. Here is a guy, for whatever reason, that thinks I'm unattainable. Some kind of insecurities lurking behind the polished surface. Then I checked the overlay of our natal charts, a technique called synastry, and you know what I saw? My sun was 2 degrees away from his south node. Our souls did meet before. My Venus also landed directly on his Chiron. I had the ability to heal him in some ways in this lifetime. Yes, you guessed it. It was healing his crazy notion that we weren't on an equal footing. We most certainly were. If you see a south node connection between your 2 charts, though, please be aware that your relationship may not last. Once that last bit of your unfinished business has played out, you're likely to part ways. If you resolved it, it's going to be on good terms and with good feelings. And if your partner's north node, remember that's your next life, is close to your sun or moon, you are in their life for a reason. You are providing an experience that helps your partner's soul to evolve. And learning can be uncomfortable. Your relationship can have some tense moments. It doesn't have to be about romantic partners either, she notes. The client I was telling you about, her mom's sun was 1 degree away from my client's north node. There was a big reason why their souls came together. How amazing is that? Okay, I've fallen in love head over heels for a website called nightskytourist.com. I've got links to her blogs and website in the show notes. Be sure to check those out. But this post is a lovely bridge to the celestial. Titled 4 Ways the Night Sky Changed Me, she writes, when I set out to learn the constellations in my early 40s, I had no idea that it would take me on a journey that would change my entire world. What began as a quest to teach my kids how to identify more than the moon and the Big Dipper ended up luring me into a deep and beautiful world of curiosity, awe, and inspiration. The more I learned, the more my perspectives changed, and the more I connected with the natural world around me. I'm only 8 years into this extraordinary journey under the night sky, and it never gets old. The thin crescent moon in the western sky never fails to take my breath away. The awe of seeing the rings of Saturn in my telescope never diminishes, no matter how many times I see it. Watching the Milky Way rise overhead in an exceptionally dark location never stops surprising me. I had no idea that frequent interactions with the night sky would be so life-altering. I didn't have a dramatic moment that pivoted my life forever, but rather I felt these changes bit by bit over time. I'm convinced that the night sky remains dormant, waiting for us to step out of the comfort zones of our brightly lit homes and the dopamine driving screens of our devices. As soon as we step outside into the darkness, an incredible world waits to be discovered. And if we look and listen, it will teach us new things. Here are some of the ways that 8 years of frequent stargazing and nighttime experiences have changed me forever. I have a greater seasonal awareness. I grew up in the Northwest with 4 distinct seasons embedded in my relationship with nature. Those cycles were turned on their head when I moved to the Sonoran Desert, where the seasons are summer and January. Over time, I learned my new seasons and associated each month with what was happening in nature. Learning the seasonal constellations added a new dimension to the seasonal changes around me. I know to anticipate the arrival of Pleiades and Orion in October when the temperatures finally fall below 100 degrees. I associate the appearance of Virgo in April with the intoxicating smell of citrus blossoms floating hovering in the air. When Sagittarius brings the core of the Milky Way into view in June, I know the meteorologists will soon declare the official start of the monsoon season. The next change, I'm enchanted by nature at night. The summer nights of my childhood were filled with magic, and the only thing that could break the spell was Mom calling us in for bed. The games we played in the dark with the neighborhood kids had a touch of mystery. We ran through neighbors' yards under the cover of darkness, invented new forms of tag and hide and seek, and hid from car headlights as they were alien spaceships. Adulthood transforms us into different nocturnal animals than the ones we embodied as children. We retreat indoors to close the curtains, flip on all the artificial lights, and drown ourselves in the lights of our televisions and smartphones. In my quest to learn the night sky, I sat on my patio in the evening twilight and challenged myself to identify the first star that winked on based on its position in the sky. While I watched the sky grow darker, the birds beat their wings as they got comfortable in their nests for the night. The bats swooped over the swimming pool, gobbling up their dinner of mosquitoes and other twilight insects. The moths tickled the white flowers, pollinating them as they extracted sweet nectar, and the geckos chirped under the eaves of the house. The more I spent time outside in the dark, the less I feared it. The less I fear it now, the more I crave it. When the evenings aren't blisteringly hot, I love to take long walks around the neighborhood or hike nearby trails with as little assistance from a flashlight as possible. Another change, I've fallen in love with cultural star knowledge. The first Native American star story I heard lit a fire in my imagination. It was a Cree story about Pleiades with grandmother spider and star woman. For the first time, that pretty cluster of stars came to life with a story that took me on a journey through a portal to the other side of the universe and opened my mind to an alternate origin story. I sought out more and more indigenous star stories until wide sections of the sky transformed into a stage full of settings, plots, and characters. But the indigenous star stories are more than myths and legends told to children in front of a campfire before bed. They often contain valuable information that the storytellers pass down from generation to generation. The stories inform them of when to plant crops, when to harvest, and when to hunt certain animals in each season. The appearance of certain stars reminded them of stories with instructions for seasonal festivities, ceremonies, and rituals. We've largely lost our connection to the night sky and how it can guide us throughout the year. We turn to our smartphones to tell time, to know the month and season, to navigate, to find a weather forecast, and to distinguish a planet from a star. Cultural star knowledge has awakened a desire in me to connect the dots between nature, the landscape, and the stars where I live. Another change, I embrace a new perspective on death. I listened to Sir Patrick Stewart's voice narrate a planetarium show about the birth and death of stars. The dome filled with imaginative scenes of the inside of a nebula, the remains of an exploded star. In the remains, dust and gas coalesced into new stars that illuminated the nebula, making it visible to us through telescopes, and in the case of the Orion Nebula, the naked eye. My brain tried to comprehend the unfathomable amount of time it takes for celestial processes to run their course. I thought about our sun, an average star, and how infinitely lucky we are to exist and to be aware of not only our existence, but our inevitable death. We all die. The constellations drift apart and stars die. Planets die. This is the unavoidable unavoidable outcome of existing. I walked out of that show with a whole new perspective of death, even though that's not what the show was about. Death no longer felt like a personal assault or an unfair end. It's what all things do. A star dies and shares its components with the rest of its galaxy, contributing the building blocks for life on Earth. A human dies and when buried, naturally shares its components with the soil and all that grows from it. This planet lives on. The universe lives on. It's a beautiful exchange of star stuff from one celestial body to the human body to a planet. From a deep dive into birth charts to the ways the stars have pressed into the soul of the night sky tourist, there's no doubt about the influence of the sun and the moon and the stars on us. How about legends of werewolves, humans changing into half dog, half human beasts during a full moon? Do our moods change based on lunar or solar activity? Let's see what we can find out about that next week. Until then, let's stay curious. I love you.